Hi everybody, welcome to the part 2 of my tier 10 meta reports for the top 10 supports. And today, I'll be sharing with you the top 5. Yesterday, we got through the 10 to 6th place where I touched on Elder Titan, Weaver, Winter Wyvern, Tide Hunter, and lastly I touched on Bane. And all of these supports are already pretty powerful on their own. They have many strengths like strong laning, team fighting, mobility, etc. etc. But today, these top 5 heroes that I'll be sharing with you are even more exciting. Some of them are uncommon, some of them you might already expect. But let's go through why these are in the top 5 for me. All of them are picked up more often at TI, and let's go through the reason why they are powerful even when you play them in your own pubs. Okay, coming in number 5, I have Disruptor. Why Disruptor? Let's take a look at his strengths. Disruptor is mainly played as pause 5 and had about 50% win rate at high immortal pubs in the past week. These are his strengths. The first of all is strong laning. Unlike the other top supports that I've mentioned, Disruptor's strong laning does not come from high HP, high armor and movement speed, but his strength comes in the form of his spell. He has a Thunderstrike spell that at level 1 already deals 180 damage and at the max level deals 480 damage. And when doing the laning phase, you may already up Thunderstrike up to level 3. That would mean that you will be dealing 380 damage to the opponent just with casting one spell. So as long as you ferry enough regen and like mangoes and you throw this out at the enemy off laner or their pause 4, you would deal a crazy amount of damage to even kill them. Also, Disruptor has a very high attack range of 625. Few heroes have such far attack range. With this far attack range, it's easy for you to click the enemies as long as you're not out of position. Now, let's look at the other strengths. Disruptor also received a series of buffs in the recent few patches. What are these buffs? Let me share with you. It includes the glimpse. I believe they reduce the glimpse cooldown. For Thunderstrike, they increase the slow interval. Previously, the slow is only 0.1 seconds per strike, but now the slow is 0.4 seconds per strike at the max level. Also, the kinetic field formation used to be 1.2 seconds or even more, but now it's only 1 second. Disruptor received a series of buffs in his skills and I believe even some other benefits like a higher base HP regen. Now, Disruptor also counters some other heroes. One of the heroes he counters is Tide Hunter, which is why you often see Disruptor pick into the Tide Hunter when the enemy picks Tide Hunter. In a way, Disruptor also counters other heroes like say Monkey King or Weaver, because these are highly mobile heroes that can go invisible or run around, but Disruptor is able to catch them from far away with the glimpse to glimpse them back and follow up with his other spells including the ulti, so that the Monkey King, the Tide Hunter, the Weaver are silenced and they cannot escape. And these are the popular heroes at the moment. Lastly, Disruptor's shard is actually pretty broken. Just for 1.4k, look at what you get. You increase your Thunderstrike AoE to 650, much larger than before, and compared to 240, it becomes 650. That's almost tripled. And you give your ally a buff of 1.25 seconds plus 50% movement speed and 75 attack speed when you cast the Thunderstrike on your ally. That is an insane buff, because when you think about it, right? If you buy an item like Solar Crest doesn't give a lot of stats to you, but its main benefit for Solar Crest is this. It's the active, which gives your ally 50 attack speed and 10% movement speed. With this shard, you get 50% movement speed and 75 attack speed. That is pretty insane. Let's try to see it in action. I guess I can't cast it on ally here, but it's okay. Let's try on the enemy then to let you see the AoE. Look at this insane damage. Look at this insane range and slow. Of course, as a position 5, you may not always have the 1400 gold to buy this, but if it's a good game for you to get the shot to buff up your ally to give them bonus movement speed, then very much this is a go-to shot that is very good. Okay, what about Disruptor weaknesses then? Disruptor's main weaknesses are pretty obvious. He is squishy, without that high HP and armor, and he has a slow movement speed. Therefore, as Disruptor, you really have to be at the back line and be careful of the enemy wrapping around to kill you. You do not want to be caught and be unable to cast your spells. Of course, you can buy items like Glimmer Cape, Force Staff, and you can glimpse the enemy away. But still, you can still die quite easily because of that, the squishiness and slow movement speed. Even then, the buffs that Disruptor receives, him being a counter to others, having a powerful shot and strong leading, makes him a hot place for number 5. I put him above Bane, one of the reasons being that Disruptor is more able to farm than Bane. When you cast a Thunder Strike on a creep wave, if the level 4 Thunder Strike and you add it with your level 10 talent of plus 30 Thunderstrike damage, you are doing a lot of Thunderstrike damage, 150 damage per second. That is 600 in total, which can allow you to clear quick waves and farm. As such, I would put Disruptor above Bane, mainly for the reason that Disruptor is more able to farm and can cast spells from far away. Coming in number 4 is Windranger. Why is Windranger in this list and why is he number 4? Some players did pick Windranger up as position 4, like Saksa and Yapzor, and Windranger actually has a high 55% win rate as a position 4 in the recent Immortal Park. Let's take a look at Windranger. What is his strength? One of the main strengths that you experience for Windranger at the early stages is his strong hereos. Windranger has a fire attack range of 600, decent attack damage, and also Windranger's power shot deals 150 damage at level 1 when you charge it, or 450 damage at max when you charge it, and you can shoot this from really far away. The mana cost isn't high as well. As such, this is a very powerful hereos tool. You would need to have some practice in order to land it, but it can be done once you know how to. For example, if the enemy is about to walk up to hit a creep, you can charge your shot up to surely hit the enemy when they walk up to the creep. Next, Windranger is mobile. Windranger, when she uses Wind Run, she can go to almost max movement speed with the bonus 60% move speed. She uses 100% evasion, so it's easy for her to even try to tank out some spells and run away without dying. She also has low cooldowns. If you look at her spells, 10 second cooldown, 9 second cooldown, 12 second cooldown, 30 seconds cooldown, and all these very low cooldown spells means that Windranger is a support that can very actively go back in and out of fights to continue to nuke, to continue to stun, to continue to provide vision and more. That is very helpful compared to just only being able to throw out one ulti or one spell and then being useless for the rest of the fight. Because of her low cooldown, she provides stun, utility, and the shot is awesome as well. She has a pretty powerful stun because if you look at it, if you land the Shackle Shot, it's a 3.8 second stun. Even if you don't, at the very least, it's still considered a stun of 75 seconds. But it's not too difficult to land the Shackle Shot after some practice because you can get a Blink Dagger or you can Wind Run into position in order to land your Shackle Shot. And it feels really good if you land it on 2 heroes. The utility is awesome on Windranger as well. Shackle Shot, you can go for Urn, you can go for Medallion, Rod of Aethos, Gleipnir in the late game. You can go for these different items that provide the healing, provide the slow, provide the buff for your team. Glimmer Cape is also another option. Also, Windranger can go for this shard, the new shard called Gale Force, and the Gale Force is really cool. Let's show you what it does.
It's an essential part.
It pushes the enemy away, and look at this. Even when they try to run, they are barely able to run. So cool, right? Look at this. And if I position it correctly, the weaver will be stuck in the trees. Check this out, man.
Yes.
So cool, man.
As the arrow flies.
And not only you can push the enemy away from your team or towards your team, and they have a difficult time running, but if you push them to among the trees, they can almost find themselves unable to move at all. That calls for an easy shackle shot and easy kills. Lastly, Windranger is a support that can scale. This is especially important on position 4. You can scale through buying a javelin, later on buying a Glipnir. You can scale through buying various other items as well, like MKB in the late game. If the game goes really late and you're against a hero like PA. But what is her main weakness? There's only really one that I can think of, and that is skill based. All her spells require you to land. The Gale Force, you need to land in the right direction. The other spells require you to land it as well. For example, if you want to land it on 2 heroes, you need to take the practice. I ended up shooting these 2, but maybe the one that you wanted to aim is these 2. Either way, I wouldn't say that Windranger is as hard as Elder Titan. It's still easier, and because of her low cooldowns and high mobility, strong harassing and scaling, Windranger is at number 4, much higher than Elder Titan and some other heroes. Now let's go to the top 3. Coming in number 3 is one that you may not expect, Legion Commander. Legion Commander was also picked up as a support by some teams, notably OG. Legion Commander, one reason that I put him up there is that Legion Commander can be played both as a position 4 or position 5 and has an average of above 52% win rate. Legion Commander's strength includes strong laning, and you can tell that Legion Commander has a strong laning just by looking at the hero. Legion Commander has insane HP, high regen, armor, very high movement speed, and very high attack damage. If you couple this with the Moment of Courage spell to have a chance to counter to lifesteal, or you up press the attack to remove any debuff and heal yourself with at least 150 HP at level 1, Windranger can constantly harass down the enemy and yet heal up or try to stay healthy. Also, Legion Commander. Legion Commander also has heal, save, and buff. This primarily comes from his second spell, the press the attack. If you get the press attack and you even up the level 15 talent for plus 40 press attack HP regen, you are healing 100 HP per second, which is 500 HP per second. That's a lot, more than a sound. You even strong dispel as well, and so you are saving your ally. And if you have the shard for the press attack, you lower the cooldown and get spell immunity for 1.75 seconds. That makes this spell even more of not just a heal but a save and a buff. The plus 140 attack damage is nothing to laugh at as well. It can be quite insane, especially on a hero like Tiny. Duo also got a buff on Legion Commander, and it's a very important buff, especially as a support LC. At level 10, you can choose to get the plus 200 dual cast range, so that now you don't have to walk all the way up to the enemy in order to cast dual, but you can walk out from the fog from the trees and cast the dual from a small range. This allows you to more likely be able to set up to kill enemies and gank them, to disable them with your dual, even when you do not have blink yet. That matters as a support because as a support, you may not have blink that early. You sometimes may not even need the blink depending on how you like to play, such as buying a Glimmer Cape and then walking up to the enemy. Number 4. Legion Commander is a support that can push. The main reason that she can do that is that she can buff herself with press attack to hit, or she can buff her ally to hit like Tiny, or she can buff a siege crit at 5 minutes 10-minute, 15-minute marks in order for the siege creep to launch many shots at the enemy
Better keep
tower
this
non-stop.
elbow loose.
As such, Legion Commander is an effective support to push. Lastly, Legion Commander can scale. She can scale through her dual damage. She can scale because she already has good starting stats. She can scale because her spells allows her to be able to transit to a semi-core even as a support. Let's say you're in a game with melee heroes, you can buy a blade mail to scale yourself with more armor and damage, yet also use it as an effective counter to the enemy physical damage heroes. What is Legion Commander's main weakness as a support? Then, the first main weakness is that you need to think critically when you are playing this hero. What do you do when you're falling behind? What do you do against the current enemy lineup? What do you do at the mid game, the late game, the early game? You have to think about these things critically. If at let's say at a point that you just don't really know what to do, you have to think about whether you should go to hit some neutral creeps, whether you should try to push out a lane, whether you should smoke gang. All these things have to come into consideration based on things like your dual cooldown, whether the enemy is highly mobile and you think that you have a difficulty getting on them. But the main thing is that as a Legion Commander, you can't play that much like a Crystal Maiden. You can't just sit behind your carry. You have to be active. You have to think about what to do. Even if there's really nothing to do, then go and hit some jungle creeps. Maybe farm it at the enemy side. If as a Legion Commander you don't do anything at all, then that is a sign that you do not play Legion Commander support well. Always do something. Farm, push, gank, whatever. You can also think about the items. Go Glimmer Cape, for example, if you're against high magic damage lineup like Jakiro and whatnot. Number 2, positioning. You need to be in good position, especially since you may not have a blink early on, in order to save your allies or to land duels, and as well as to land duel on an enemy who is alone so that his allies don't come and kill you. Number 3, the last weakness is that Legion Commander is weaker in losing games. If you are in a losing game, you can still do something like try to catch and duel an enemy when they are pushing your high ground, but you are not likely to win the duel and you may end up feeding the enemy duel damage instead. And Legion Commander is also weaker in a losing game because aside from the duel, you don't inherently have any stun or disable. The only thing you have is a save. But if you try to save your carry and your mid laner, who is also under level and under farm, that doesn't do that much to help you to turn the game around. That said, Legion Commander is still really strong because of the buffs, the laning, the heal, the save, the pushing, and the skilling. Let's go to the last 2. Coming in number 2 might not be a surprise. It is Magnus. Collapse Magnus. Nah, just kidding. But seriously, if you master this hero, it's a beast that will help you to gain a lot of MMR and win games as long as Magnus doesn't get nerfed too hard. Magnus can be played both as a position 4 and 5, and that's another strength that you have for Magnus support. Magnus is just broken. Magnus has strong laning. Look at Magnus. You have 700 HP like Legion Commander, high regen, high movement speed, pretty decent armor, and high attack damage. And you can couple these stats with the shockwave to slow and do damage to hit the enemy more, or you can threaten to constantly skewer the enemy into your tower in the laning phase. Otherwise, you can also go the empower route to do a bit more damage to the enemy, or empower your carry to farm. Whichever route that you go, you still have a pretty strong laning. The third tool that Magnus has is repositioning, and this cannot be undervalued. It's very powerful. If you are getting gone on by the enemy, you can skewer out to reposition yourself to safety, or if you see an enemy hero that is a bit out of position, you can go onto them and skewer them away from their team, and that allows you to surely kill the enemy hero and make it a 5v4. That repositioning is very powerful. Number 4 is team fighting. As mentioned, Magnus can team fight through his skills like Shockwave, Skewer, but most of all the RP. Imagine RPing even just 2 heroes or 3 heroes and going through the BKB, and you do a stun of up to almost 4 seconds. That is incredibly strong and game winning and busted as a support. Number 5. Skilling. Magnus is a hero that has no problem skilling because he can farm. He can throw shockwave at the crits, he can empower himself to hit the crits, he can stack and hit the crits, he can empower his own allies, and such. He is a hero that will not fall off in the late game at all. Besides, RP is never bad as long as you land it even in the very late stage of the game. So, what are Magnus' weaknesses? Magnus is skill based. If you do not get your horn toss shot, you may blink in and skewer, but end up not skewering the enemy at all. Or you may not skewer it very well as far as you want to in the right direction. RP as well, there is a slight cast duration delay when you press RP, and therefore you have to be quick. Blink RP really fast if you want to really land it well and choose the right time to go in to land it. And that leads also to Magnus needing to have good positioning. Lastly, Magnus has an item timing dependent. What I mean is this. As a Magnus support, you may not have that much fun compared to a core. That means that you will not get your Blink Dagger that fast, probably not by 10 minutes or 12 minutes. But Blink Dagger is still very important on Magnus, especially if you want to blink in and skewer an enemy away from their team, or blink in to land a 5-man RP. Because if you do not have the blink and you just skewer in, the enemy can just walk away from you. And so Magnus is quite dependent on the Blink Dagger. But the good thing is that even though Magnus need a blink pretty early on, it may not be that difficult to get it because you tend to win lanes with your strong laning, and even if you do not, you can still smoke gang and land a few RPs at the beginning, or you can use your empower to farm up some creeps yourself so that you get a good blink timing. Such, Magnus is broken mainly because of strong laning and most of all the ability to reposition to save yourself or to win the fights. Let's look at number 1. Number 1 is Monkey King, the most banned hero at TI, which is kind of surprising. I put him as the most picked hero, but he was ended up the most banned hero, and he was mainly picked as a support. Even though he's mainly picked as a support, he still had almost 60% win rate at TI. That is impressive. What makes Monkey King support so good? He can be played both at pots 4 and 5 with above 50% win rate. His strengths are strong laning, scouting and mobility, ganking, counter-initiating zoning, and versatility. Let's go through this and take a look. Monkey King has a good movement speed, high armor, decent regen, and high attack damage. He can zone the enemies out easily with his spells.
Where's my cloud?
Zingu forces the enemy to go back, and it may not even be hard to land 4 hits, especially if you have about corrosion.
You should have stayed home.
You can also juke spells like a Vengeful Spirit
to
done
move.
with your Mischief, which is helpful. Also, your slow is pretty broken. Even at level 1, you can slow the enemy for up to 4 seconds with 20% slow, at level 2 40% slow, and imagine at level 4 80% slow with 350 damage. This spell does a lot.
Where do you think you're going?
At level 2, that is really incredible damage, and look at how slow the enemy has to walk. Secondly, even the Boundless Strike spell is good. Most of the support hero's stun range is not so far. It's only up to 500 or 600, but this Boundless Strike range is about 1.1k. That is very far. Look at this, I can hit all the way to here. Not only can I hit it far away, but this is a AoE stun. I could possibly land it on even 3 or 4 enemy heroes. That is really good.
Let's go. Not so fast.
So you can see his spells are pretty good, and he has decent stats for laning. Also, Monkey King is good at scouting and mobility. With his 3 jump, you can fly around the map and go from one end to the other easily. You can even check this. Let's say this is an eye ward spot, and you're on the tree beside this eye ward spot. You can plant a sentry on the ground, and then you will be able to see the enemy ward here. Because you're on the tree, you can see the sentry, the observer ward on the eye ward spot, and you can walk up to the eye ward spot in order to hit the ward. Now third, Monkey King is great at ganking, counter-initiating, and zoning. He can gank easily because he can move around fast and then show his spells. Monkey King is also great at counter-initiating because let's say the enemy goes onto your ally. Let's say this is your ally.
Time to pick a fight.
You can easily deal with the. You can easily counter-initiate by throwing a stun, or even if not a stun, you can counter-initiate by throwing out your ulti. This by throwing out your ulti when the enemy goes on your team, that also acts as zoning. You can also use the ulti to zone when you are pushing the enemy tower. What I mean is this.
I'll go with the action.
Oh my god, stupid weaver. Wait a minute. Okay. So if you put this ulti out here, it forces the enemy to not stay too near to this ulti, and this allows you and your team to hit. That's pretty convenient. Lastly, Monkey King is very versatile, especially in terms of items. You can build Orb of Coercion first. After that, you can go for face boots or tranquil boots. You can choose to go for Echo Saber. You can choose to go for Witchblade. You can choose to go for Mage Slayer, even Orchid or Diffuser. Different people go for different builds, and sometimes you don't have to go for these items that empower your attacks and your ulti, but you can also go for the simple support items like Athos, Lotus Orb, Glimmer Cape, and Monkey King can cast these utility items on allies or enemies easily because he jump from tree to tree and cast these items. So, what then is his weakness? Monkey King weakness is critical thinking. You have to think about whether you should farm if your teammate is not pushing, whether you should help to push a side lane so that the enemy has to respond to defend the side lane. You have to think about things like whether you want to play more as a counter initiator in this game or a ganker. Maybe the enemy is the one that keeps going onto your ally. Then instead of trying to gank people, just sit behind your carry that the enemy is going on in order to show your Zingu and your slows and your ulti. And also, you need to think critically in terms of other aspects as well, like items, like which area should you deward, which area is safe to enter, whether it's safe enough to farm the enemy jungle, things like that. So you need some practice and some thinking, active thinking, in order to fully master Monkey King. But even without the full experience yet, when you play Monkey King, I believe you will see that he is pretty broken as a support. Lastly, Monkey King is skilled based. Even though the Jingu has a far range, it doesn't mean that you will surely land. You need practice in order to land. Otherwise, sometimes you may miss your spells. The Primal Spring requires you to charge it, and you can choose when to let it go as well. The enemy may try to run away. And let's see, even the Weaver without boots, he almost walked away if I try to fully charge this. But even then, you just need some practice, and this is not as hard as a hero like Elder Titan. With that, I would say you can see the reason Monkey King is number 1 is because of mainly his ability to scout and move about, and also his ability to not just scan but counter initiate and zone. And most of all, he's very versatile. So with that, here are the top 5 heroes. Disruptor. His main strength is that he can serve as a counter to some popular heroes and he has buffs. Windranger, number 4. Her main strength is mobility and strong harassing and constantly being able to fight. Coming number 3, Legion Commander. Her main strength is ability to skill, push, save, and buff. And number 2 is Magnus, because Magnus has the ability to reposition and has very strong team fighting and can skill. And last of all, Monkey King, because Monkey King is able to scout and move about the map, even snipe couriers, and he just is able to do a lot, from ganking to zoning and building different versatile item builds, like Orchid for Storm Spirit, for example. With that, I hope you like this TI meta report for the top supports. And do you agree with these picks? Do you agree that these 5 heroes are among the best heroes now after the TI10 meta? Comment and let me know your thoughts. Share whether you agree whether these heroes are good, why or why not. What do you think is other strengths or weaknesses they have? If not, you can also share about any other hero that you think is good. With that, thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe, and all the best and have fun with these heroes in your game.